I went to a funeral yesterday. I didn't mean to. I stumbled upon it. I was out exploring the city of Granada here in Nicaragua, and I had just come from, I was trying to go see a fort um, somewhere in the center of the city. And I was walking back, just deciding to wander down a street and not really use my GPS for a little while. And in the distance, I see what looks like a beautiful church. Those of you who know me know I love old churches. So I go walk in and I get closer and closer to this church. I end up kind of in front of it, and out in the middle of the road, like in the median area, there is this ornate, horse drawn carriage of sorts. But what I realize, it's like an old fashioned hearse, like a horse drawn hearse. It had like glass walls and it was black wrought iron and really beautiful. And I thought, oh, well, that's really interesting. I wonder if that's like a tourist thing or like if that's like a historic thing. So I was mildly curious and I thought, oh, I'm just going to go check out this church. So I go up the steps to the church and I'm over the threshold when I realize there's a service going on. I'm thinking, oh, okay, so I'm not going to be in tourist mode. And I put my phone, my camera away, and I sort of slip into the back to sit down. I don't even know what kind of church this is. I sit down in the back. There's not a ton of people in there. I sit down and the priest in the front is conducting a service in Spanish, and I'm observing and I'm just looking around this just spectacular church. And then I notice two things. One, I notice up in the front there's an open casket. I can't see in the casket, but I can see that it's up there. And the second thing I realize is I start to recognize um, patterns or snippets or ideas or actions what that the priest is doing because I was raised Catholic-ish, and so I'm very familiar with the how a Catholic service unfolds, and I realized this is a Catholic service in Spanish. And so I decided, it was at that point I was in it, in it for all of it. So I sat there through the entire service, and it was really interesting that I could, even though I don't really know a lot of Spanish, I could follow along because I knew I was familiar with the framework. It's the same wherever you go. Last year, when I was in Florence, I attended a Catholic Mass and it was Italian. I've seen the Latin Masses on television when I lived in Seattle. Obviously, I've been to Catholic Mass in the English speaking world. So I was able to follow along and all the things they do and the peace be with you and the passing of the plate and the communion. And I couldn't understand, a lot of the stuff that was going on about specific to the funeral, but um, I could follow along because, it's the same everywhere. And I guess that's what struck me is it's the same everywhere. Humans everywhere do the same things in different ways. They all have the same basic needs. They worship their gods that are important to them, or nature, or whatever it is. They cook food. They do laundry. They have relationships with their family and with their spouses and their friends and their communities. They have jobs, or they don't. But it doesn't matter what country you're in. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in. Life goes on in some manner everywhere, and we all have a commonality. And it was just so beautiful, really, to sit and observe something that was both familiar and completely unfamiliar to me at the same time by stumbling um, upon this funeral that was happening in this Catholic church. So that was really a gift to just to get that, reinforcement in my belief that you know, we all get so convinced that our 2 plus 2 equals 4 is the law of the land, but really 1 plus 3 also equals 4. So does 4 plus 0. So does 1.5 plus, you know, 2.5, whatever it is. Did I do my math right? So just think about that when you start to get that special snowflake syndrome and you think that, your challenges or your triumphs um, are singularly the only one in the world, and realize that we are all a human population, and um, we're really all the same at our core.